indispensable means where opportunities chase you because of your reputation, because of how you show up, how you stand out, how you connect with people, the connections that you maintain over years and years and years, how you're willing to try new things. Being indispensable doesn't mean that you have job security and you'll never get wrongfully fired. That is not what it means. It does not mean that you're a people pleaser and that you're burning out and you're going way too above and beyond for your job. It doesn't mean you're the richest, loudest, or smartest person in the room. Being indispensable means that you're the person that everyone loves to work with.
Hey, Mama. Welcome to the Working Moms Playbook, the go-to podcast for moms balancing careers and babies. I'm your host, Antonia and Ana, former editor, current marketing maven, and mom of one. Each week, we're breaking down the systems, mindsets, and support every working mom needs to thrive, whether it be at work, at home, or everywhere in between. So let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, to the Working Moms Playbook. I am your host, Antonia. This week, every week I'm excited, let's be honest. But this week I'm still excited to sit down with Ana Welsh, who is the founder of Ana Welsh Leadership and a recent connect. I feel like we have run in the same circles, but we just have never actually met face to face. Ana teaches professionals how to become indispensable, which is obviously indispensable in itself. Over the past 2 years, she has delivered more than 70 talks and workshops nationwide to audiences totaling over 5,000 people for companies that we all know, like Comcast, Chipotle, Vertex, and so many more. She has also been recognized as a Mainline Today Power Woman. So for those who are local will know that that is absolutely amazing. And then she also has an incredible reputation as a workplace dynamics strategist, Wharton lecturer, and next-gen talent developer. Beyond her main career, she also mentors middle and high school students through a program called Girls Spark. And then she lives just outside of Philly with her husband and 2 children. So welcome, Ana. I'm so excited to have you on and to finally sit down and chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited too.
Yeah, it's just so great to be able, all the conversations are obviously valuable to our working moms and to our listeners, but to be able to have someone to come on and speak more, not only about your frameworks, but how we as working moms can become indispensable in the workforce, especially when we have to take so many quote unquote breaks, right? Between maternity leave and pregnancy. It's hard. And I know we lose career evolution time because of it. So this is certainly a really important conversation to have today. I wanted to start out by having you talk more about your journey. I know you're first gen immigrant and you became VP of fast growing healthcare. Now you're, of course, a leadership coach and a Wharton lecturer. What early experiences shaped how you approached your career and how you developed where you are today?
My early experience that has shaped my career, it's actually a great question to ask because I've been doing a lot of reflecting and reflection lately. In fact, I just got back from Chicago yesterday. Do you hear that?
Cat.
Oh,
It's my cat. Because for the listeners, life is just never... Right before this call, and here she is. Right before this call, I got a text that my son is sick at daycare, so we had to go pick him up after that. And now my poor cat who lost her sister this weekend, is now confusingly running around wondering what is going on. So that's her. So excuse the meows.
and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
That's so
Thank
sad.
you.
I had a cat that passed away unexpectedly, and I'm still shaken up by it.
Oh, it's so horrible. But anyway, continue. Ignore the meows.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I was just in Chicago this past weekend doing a talk that was super special for me. My very first ever external speaking gig was in 2016 at the Association of Dermatology Administrators and Managers, the ADAM conference, which is the sister conference to AAD, the Association, the Academy of an Association of Dermatologists. And the first time I ever did a speaking engagement was in 2016, and I talked about managing and motivating millennials. And I likened it to Facebook, and I said, upload their confidence, like their, performance publicly and criticize privately, and respect when they log off, because work-life balance in 2016 was a huge thing. So I went back in 2026 talking about managing Gen Z. And my husband came, we made a weekend out of it. And I was just in such reflection mode thinking about how so many experiences of mine, especially growing up, has really led me to where I am today. So allow me to explain. I moved to the States from Brazil when I was 5 years old. I moved and immediately went into kindergarten and ESOL class. I didn't speak English. It was in Long Island. And I had this great teacher who spoke Portuguese from Portugal, which is different than Portuguese from Brazil. But we were able to understand each other, and she believed in me. She was so great. And I learned English quickly and became my family's translator. As more and more of my family members immigrated in, I would take them to the bank or the DMV and translate for them. So I have been not only interacting with professionals from the beginning, I also moved a lot from kindergarten to fifth grade. So K through 4 was in Long Island, and I went through 3 different schools. Fifth grade was a different school. We moved to Florida. Middle school was 3 years and 4 years in high school that I was at the same school. But from K through 5, I went through 4 different schools. So I was used to change, used to meeting new people. Then at age 14, I started working, and I worked in restaurants. I worked at pizza places. I was the phone girl or getting the pizza slices out. And then I put myself through college in Boca Raton, Florida, working at the Cheesecake Factory in this American restaurant called Houston's. So I've been in customer service and hospitality after being a young professional, elementary school professional. And that really helped me with transferable skills that I utilize now, which is interacting with people of all different stages, all different ages, life, background, socioeconomic, anything. I feel like I have a little bit of a head start knowing how to drive that click to vibe with them and bond with them. And because I was a waitress and always in student council and doing all these leadership things, I learned to kind of publicly speak accidentally. I used to want to be on SNL, and then I wanted to be a teacher, and then I wanted to be a news reporter, and now I am teaching people in a very funny way with a microphone in my hand. So here we are. So
It all came together.
Yes. Touching briefly on my career is, again, I put myself through 4 internships while in college in news stations. My first job out of college was at NBC News in DC. I realized, no disrespect to anyone in the news industry, I didn't want to be in the news industry after being in it. So I moved to Hoboken, New Jersey right after I met my husband. I did an internship in a public relations firm, got hired, did that for a year, then became a pharmaceutical sales rep, did that very well. I ranked number 1 in sales twice within my 12-month stint there. And then one of the doctors that I called me into his office one day and offered me a job.
Wow.
So when people ask me, hey, can you give me resume tips or interviewing tips? Everything's been word of mouth. Thank heavens. Out of the 10 formal jobs that I've had, I've only blindly applied to one, which was the Cheesecake Factory when I was 17. So being indispensable means where opportunities chase you because of your reputation, because of how you show up, how you stand out, how you connect with people, the connections that you maintain over years and years and years, how you're willing to try new things. Being indispensable doesn't mean that you have job security and you'll never get wrongfully fired. That is not what it means. It does not mean that you're a people pleaser and that you're burning out and you're going way too above and beyond for your job. It doesn't mean you're the richest, loudest, or smartest person in the room. Being indispensable means that you're the person that everyone loves to work with, because we all know what it's like to work with people we can't stand. I have a few avatars for them. I call Bob the Boomer,
Okay.
Douchebag Dan, Mary the Manager, or Ava the Intern.
My God.
But we all know what it's like to work with people we can't stand. At the dinner table, when you're out, when you're talking with friends, how's work? People aren't talking about the SOP that you just, launched, or the AI tech stack that now you put on your agents. They're talking about people. And so how you show up and how you play the game, and you master the unwritten rules of workplace dynamics. You understand where the power dynamics are. You know how to kind of adjust to different personalities. I call that social fluency, not being fake. And the more that you understand, people are constantly assessing what it's like working with you. Subconsciously, 9.9 times out of 10, subconsciously, they're assessing what it's like working with you. So when you know that, and you're constantly trying to add value, trying to be pleasant, professional, productive, personable, that's indispensability. And I break it down into managing yourself, your work, and your relationships. And I learned all of that through the 10 years where I worked at Schweiger Dermatology Group. I was the 11th employee when I started. When I left, there was 1,200. I was my CEO's right hand throughout many of the early years, excuse me, I should say, while I was there. I built operations from 2 to 24 offices, built the call center, the integration team, the day-to-day infrastructure. And then they moved me into building the HR department, which at that time we called employee experience. And the irony that I eventually became the VP of employee experience, aka HR, is because when I first started, I sucked. I was a raging bitch. I was a bulldog psychopath manager, like straight up. Was like truly psychotic and so insane. No self-awareness, like huge ego. I had this big job in New York City and was building this like massive thing that kept growing and growing. And I just thought it was hot shit. And so I had a one-size-fits-all approach. I'm like, listen, common sense, do this, figure it out, just do it. I would always say FIOJDI, figure it out, just do it. And I realized, that didn't work. An employee quit no notice because of me. I do share that detailed tea in my keynotes and such. But I kind of hit rock bottom and I really had to turn it around. And thank God my CEO didn't fire me. And he basically told me, you really need to turn it around. People don't like working with you. You're great at executing, but people don't enjoy your approach. So you need to change that if you want to be good at your job.
So you really learned. A lot of people will be like, I learned because I like executed, or I had like that BITCH person and I hated my manager. But like, you're like, no, I was that person. I transformed and here I am today.
No, honestly, I kid you not. I'm sure, there's a few people out there will co-sign this story. But yeah, I learned through failure and I understood the depth of the negative impact. And I now wish I could go back and erase it, but you know what? It is what it is. I don't shame myself anymore. If anything, I applaud that time for teaching me. If I wasn't like that, if I didn't have that experience, I honestly don't think I would be here today or be effective in what I do.
Yeah. I mean, everyone grows by their experiences. So let's go into the nitty-gritty for the audience. You kind of defined what it means to be indispensable a few minutes ago. However, for working moms, what does that actually mean in practical, everyday terms where we are being pulled in hundreds of directions, whether it be family, work, like your own self and taking care of yourself while managing it all? Like, what does indispensable mean for those working moms?
I'm going to break it down into 2 words, seasons and signal. Allow me to start with seasons. I'm 41 at the time of recording.
Oh, you have a birthday coming up?
No, I just, I'm currently 41. And I have a lot of, I like to be around young people. So I have a lot of girlfriends from all different stages. I have good friends that are in their 60s, 50s, and 20s and 30s. And I coach a lot of women in their 20s and 30s. And I wish that I could tell every woman in their 20s and 30s the following. Success is not a straight line to the top. You said it earlier, for working moms, we lose career evolution time as we make a family. I wish we would understand that it's okay to quote unquote lose career evolution time, that your career does not need to be at the top of the mountain by the age of 40. God willing, we will live long and take good care of ourselves. Our 40s, 50s, and 60s, I'm convinced, is the actual true prime of career. Your 20s, you're figuring it out. You're focusing on your professionalism. You're learning more about who you are. At age 25, your prefrontal cortex in your brain finally gets fully developed. We are trying to find our partners in life. We are dating. We are heartbroken. We are hustling. That's, in my opinion, what your 20s are for, is building kind of the foundation of the rest of your life. Your 30s, and again, I'm generalizing, so please, I hope no viewer or listeners, this isn't Bible, but this is just the generic phase, season 1, 20s, I'll put it, whatever age makes sense for you. Season 2, You're getting married, you're going to 38 bachelorette parties, you plan your own party, you're doing wedding dress shopping, you're married, now you're thinking, ooh, I want to have kids by this time, and then I want to be promoted by this, and what's childcare going to cost, and this. Your
Mm-hmm.
30s is psychotic. Like, to me,
Yeah.
my 30s was the hardest so far.
Okay.
My 20s, as much as I was broke and unclear of my future, I was having so much fun. I didn't have as many bills and pressure and all these things. Your 30s is very, very difficult. You're getting pregnant. Maybe you're having fertility issues like I did. You're having a baby. You're adjusting your brain. You're remothering yourself. You just created a human. It is insane. And so many people still have their expectations of season one, their 20s. In season two, their 30s. They're getting married and having babies stage. And I wish so hard that women would just give themselves a little bit of grace and a breather to say the most important career, I'm using air quotes,
Yeah.
move is for you to marry the right person and be healthy for your babies. That's what season two is about. Then, in my opinion, season three starts when your youngest goes into kindergarten. I don't know
Okay.
why. Don't quote me on this. I have no stats behind it. But I can tell you my youngest is now in kindergarten right now. And I swear I'm like a new person. I have more time in my life. She goes to a fantastic public school, so I do have more money in my pocket from childcare, which is a huge, we got
Yeah.
a raise as parents.
Yeah.
No disrespect to whatever private or public decision making as a side
Yeah.
disclaimer. I know from 9 to 4, I am free to work. And unless it's a serious emergency, nurse is not going to call me and say, oh, they're 99.9. You want to monitor them, or you have to be on your pins and needles about childcare and things like that.
Yeah.
So I just wish that for the viewers that are thinking about indispensability and are probably in season two of their lives, to know that you still have your 40s and we're all aging beautifully. So your 40s, you're going to look young. You're going to feel young. You still have your 40s and 50s and 60s. And in my opinion, the wisdom, the time management skills, the context, the execution, the education, the intelligence, the emotional intelligence that you build during season two, accidentally, you don't even realize you're becoming so much better as a person having to juggle all of this, that then when you get a little bit of grace when your youngest turns to kindergarten, you can use all of that compounded skills into transferable skills into your next role. And if you show up, you know how to interview, you have so many people that know you as a human and person and can vouch for you and stick their neck out for you, you're not losing anything. You're just reprioritizing. So,
Yeah.
all right. I get so upset. I get really passionate about this. So
Well,
it
it's
really is true for
true.
all of my friends.
Yeah.
They're all in their 40s now and they're all thriving. They have great jobs. They went back to work. They catapulted quickly. Their kids are in a better stage. They're physically easier. And I'm looking at all these 30-year-olds. I'm like, girl, you're going to be fine. Stop putting so much pressure on yourself.
I mean, it's so hard. Like, life goes by so quickly. You're in college and high school was yesterday, and then college ends and college was yesterday, and then you're getting married. And it's just like, it's so fast. And I mean, everyone listening to this has had to experience that at this point in life, but it really does. It goes so fast. And then you start to panic about your career, especially as different people start to increase or climb up the ladder, as to say, in their careers. There's a big comparison game. And, if we just all took a second, and myself included, because I totally get wrapped up in this, but if you take a second to sit back and relax, like, it'll be okay. The bills will get paid. You will get to where you want to get if you have the determination and the skill set to get there. It's just a matter of letting time do its thing and letting hard work show.
Relation.
Yeah.
The other word I wanted to mention was signal. So during your season two, frankly, throughout your entire career, be mindful of your signal to noise ratio. I was doom scrolling Instagram, and Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank said that one of the superpowers of Steve Jobs from Apple is he was disciplined on signal to noise ratio. You can Google this. You can go on ChatGPT. I recommend every listener, your homework after watching this episode or listening to this episode is to just educate yourself on signal to noise. The high level is signal is what matters. Signal is information, data, objective, whatever is going to move the ball forward, whatever truly matters and helps decisions get made and helps move the needle. Noise is typically emotional based. It eats up a lot of airtime. It describes something that happened in the past when signal is about moving forward. And noise can be what we get wrapped up in our heads with. So throughout your career, if you constantly are focusing on signal versus noise, is this signal, is this noise? Does this help move things forward? Does this truly matter? Or is this noise? That will also help you be more efficient, reduce burnout while you're having this cognitive overload of bachelorettes, weddings, kids,
Yeah.
bosses, and all the things.
No, that's really helpful because it is so easy. I feel like you can use that, of course, in your career, as we're talking about now, but you can also use that in terms of relationships and everyday life. Like, we can so easily get caught up in the noise and so easily lose the focus of like the present and then the goals for the future, which would, of course, like you just said, be the signal.
Do I
Yeah.
need to use do I need to take my kid to go to swim lessons when I'm exhausted from a work day? He's tired too. No. You know, who are you reporting to in actual life? It's really yourself and your family and the people that matter, so focusing on what really matters would be a
Yep.
great tactic.
Great. So then let's talk more about your frameworks, the indispensable professional and the signature self method. Define them, talk about them, but then also I would love if you could simplify steps on how these frameworks can be applied for moms who are in the workforce.
Absolutely. Indispensability is a 3-part framework. It's knowing how to manage yourself, knowing your triggers, knowing how to talk to yourself in your head. You can't control your first thought. You can control your second thought, as Hannah Pryor, who is a phenomenal speaker, says. For our Philly fan base here, I always say you don't want to spit on Dak Prescott within the first 30 seconds of the home opener of an Eagles game. Jalen Carter, I'm talking to you, and then get kicked out. And then let down your colleagues, your managers, and your stakeholders, basically your teammates, your fans, and the coaches. It's really how you manage yourself and how you talk to yourself in your head. That's managing self. Within that, it's managing your brand and how you show up and your composure. I have the signature self trademark term, and I built that on the heels of debunking what TikTok influencers are telling these young kids of bringing their whole entire selves to work. Do not bring your whole entire unfiltered, ego-driven self to work. Be authentic. Be who you are innately. You do not need to be fake. You do not need to code switch and be a people pleaser. Put yourself last. But going back to indispensability is about being the person everyone loves to work with and how people are subconsciously assessing what it's like working with you. Bringing your signature self to work is your professional best. It's your most effective version of yourself to work. That's called social fluency. That's not being fake. It's making minor adjustments based on the environment. It's knowing how to read the room and take responsibility for the energy that you bring to your environment. So how I am with you here today, Antonia, is just a tiny bit different than how I am maybe on stage to professionals or to my girlfriends in Fort Lauderdale we like to party in South Florida. I'm still myself. I'm still a little quirky.
Yeah.
I still have talk with my hands. I'm still myself, but I'm going to be mindful of how what I say lands. And that's bringing your signature self to work. And that's pillar 1 of mastering managing yourself of indispensability. Pillar number 2 is managing your work. This really backs into what I just shared about signal to noise and making sure that you are effective. AI, there's so much out there. We have no idea how it's all going to land. And there's a lot of fear mongering that it's going to take over jobs. Sure, I'm certain it's going to take over some jobs, but it's only going to take over jobs for those that are anti-AI. To be effective at work and manage your work, you have to be strong as your human advantage. I think the pendulum is going to swing hard on AI. There's going to be AI slop and AI crap and average intelligence of what is how I kind of say the bad version of AI. And then the pendulum's going to swing and there's going to be this big human comeback because a lot of people are now hiding behind AI. We need to
Yeah,
show
they
up,
are.
stand out as our effective, authentic signature selves and use AI as part of our tool belt to be effective and help us stay focused on signal to noise to execute.
Okay. Yep.
So it's about being open-minded and being innovative with a side of AI in your human element. And then I think the X factor of being indispensable So going back to moms, by the way, using AI to plan out your dinners for the week, to plan, have a packing list,
Yeah.
to also help educate you on signal to noise, to educate you on that new corporate term that you heard in the meeting that you don't know anything about. Instead of going crazy in your head and thinking you're bad or you're stupid, you're not good at your job, girl, pull out your phone, use ChatGPT and be like, what does a flywheel mean in corporate terms? Like, this is educating us so quickly. And then when we
Yeah.
use our human aura to show up in a likable, professional, personable way, forget it. That's indispensability. Okay. So the X factor is managing relationships. Our network is our net worth. We all know this. And PS, the individuals that all of our listeners probably have in their, I'm aging myself now, Rolodex, in their contact list, you have no idea what kind of jobs they're going to get in the next 5 to 10 years. So stay
Yeah.
in touch with them every now and then. Just say, hey, I was thinking about you. I see you on Instagram all the time, crushing it. How are you doing? Do sprinkle in, little ways to stay in touch with as many people as you can in the most genuine way. Like, you have to be genuine. You have to actually
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that. And that's how you build a huge Rolodex of relationships that can help you. Again, once your youngest goes to kindergarten, once you really start to have more mental bandwidth to focus on work. And this is around being an anti-avoider. Most people, myself included, tend to naturally default. Avoid hard things, avoid different personalities, avoid Bob the Boomer, avoid Dan the douchebag, avoid Mary the manager, avoid Ava the intern. And you never get to really get deep with them and share feedback or ask for feedback. That's how you really build the strong relationship, is about being an anti-avoider. And that means that we have to depersonalize different personalities. When you stop taking things personal and you accept people, many of us here are either siblings, have cousins, or have multiple children. And we are all wired and we come out of the womb a certain way. No one's out there to get you for the most part. No one's trying to be a jerk. They're just different. And so once you depersonalize that and accept that, again, you can train your brain. There's so much around neuroscience right now and neuroplasticity, and how you can literally, through action, rewire how your default way of thinking is, so that you can more naturally, genuinely by default, show up more effective.
Yeah. And it can be hard too. I feel like, especially when you're a working mom, we all know we're pulled in a million directions. Some of us have a great village, whether it be friends or family, but then some of us don't. And a lot of us, in turn, that workplace is the only space where you can be your full blown self. But that's what emphasizes the importance of, like, part of what you were talking about. Like, you have to, your work is not your place where you get your full blown self. Of course, you make like work friends, right? Like work wives who then become real lifelong friends. And that's a different story. But I think it is important to note, based off of what you just spoke about, like, it is very easy to fall victim to the fact if you don't have that strong village to turn that work into that strong village, because you're there every day for most of the day, right? Um, for what are like simple steps, whether it be for that circumstance that I just explained or not, for when it comes to almost screening yourself for that authentic self, right? Or the signature self method for how you are bringing yourself to work? Are there like simple steps, a check in, whatever that might look like, that anyone, but for, of course, this show specifically, working moms, can take that 5 minutes to do before entering the workplace, whether it be in the car, walking to work in the city, on public trans, whatever it is?
Yes, great question. 3 words. Choose 3 words that you want described about you when you're not in the room. And be careful that those 3 words do not have an unintended consequence. For example, I have a coachee, she's late 20s, she's about to become a first-time manager,
Okay.
and her 2026 ID, which is how does she want to be seen? And we've worked on that together. And she said, supportive to my team. Now, I know that she is a bit of a rescuer, and sometimes she holds on to a lot of work, because if you want it done right, you do it yourself, and she can do it, and it takes longer to train someone, so she just does it herself, and then she ends up drowning. So I said to her, yes, but remember, we're also working on delegating and being more careful with what's on our workload and teaching, utilizing your new direct report that you're about to get and delegating down to them so that you can work at a higher level.
Yeah.
So we changed supportive to effective.
Okay.
She actually wrote, I want to be seen as capable. Because it's true, that's behind closed doors, people use that word. I know some people get offended by it, but it is true. Like, I don't think that they're capable for that position, or I don't think that they're capable for that title or that role. So we changed supportive to capable because that's what she wants people to say about her behind closed door, behind her back, basically. So I would encourage the listeners, yourself, anyone to what's your 2026 ID? Because what got you here won't get you there. And if you want to learn and grow, you can't stay stagnant in the same place. So, what's your 2026 ID? Choose 3 words of how you want to be described. Again, put it into ChatGPT, talk to her, say, do you think there's any unintended consequence? Go back and forth, learn about yourself, talk to a manager or someone that you trust at work and say, hey, I kind of, I heard this podcast and some quirky girl told me about 3 words. What do you think? And what do you think is an unintended possibility with these words?
Yeah.
And have those 3 words at 7 a.m., phone reminder on your calendar, label it somewhere near your working area. And that could be your way to hold yourself accountable for how you want to build that signature self and show up with a PPS, a positive professional shadow. Because if you tell yourself those words, your brain will start to believe it, the universe will start to believe it, and then the energy will be pretty obvious
Yeah.
in terms
You're
of how you're showing
manifesting
up.
it.
Yes, and it's almost like your own personal core values. What I love about core values for companies, but also for yourself, is when you're in doubt, when you have incomplete information or you're unsure, go back to your values. That will help you make a decision and guide you on what to do next.
So then, of course, that leads into not only how you grow for your team, right? Depending on what those 3 words are and grow in your career, but it also attributes to your self-worth and your mindset. And then that, of course, can filter into that next hard conversation for a lot of us, which is negotiating, whether it be a pay raise, right? A bonus, maybe a reevaluation of a role that leads into a promotion. When you think of that signature self method, especially for, again, working moms, because we do lose a lot of time, right? That career evolution does get paused, as we said earlier. What is that one belief as they're using this method, as they're thinking about these next steps, no matter what season they are? What is that one belief that we should be letting go of before we even step into that next major conversation to get us to where we want to be and likely deserve to be?
The belief I would encourage everyone to adopt and maintain is that confidence is knowing I can do hard things. Confidence is practicing doing hard things. Self-worth and confidence is not how you look, the color of your hair, if your hair is curly or straight, the color of your skin, the outfits you're wearing, where you grew up, what private school you went to. That's not confidence. Confidence is knowing you can do hard things. And when you practice doing hard things, neuroscience tells us that that's exactly where confidence is built. So, in regards to a promotion, a negotiation, a presentation at a leadership retreat, the more you practice, the more you do, the better you'll get and the more confident you'll become. Because think about times that we have proven something to ourselves, that we did it. Like the level of confidence that you probably didn't even realize that you got.
Yeah.
Like, I gave birth. I was scared. I did it. Like, now you're like, hell yeah. Like, I'm a freaking mom. Like, I did it. That's why we look at men like, you guys could never. Like, you could never.
You're literally like put out by a cold. Like, how did
No,
that
like,
happen?
that's where like confidence skyrockets. So the more you prove to yourself that you can do something, like, and the more you feel that confidence building, keep trying to replicate that. at work. I was so scared to go out by myself when my baby was little. And I was like, I avoided it. I was such a homebody. And then I prepped. I had my checklist, had everything going, sans AI. Wow, I can't believe now I'm talking like a true old lady, like back in the day without AI.
Hey, I mean, it's not for most of us. That is going to be for most of us.
And that's the first time I've ever said that, though. I'm like, Jesus Christ, people are like, now I'm old shit. But, and then I did it, and I came back, like, I was like, I freaking did it. He cried a little bit. It was fine. I pulled out the stroller. Like, when you say, like, I freaking did it, like, that's where confidence is at. So I encourage everyone to start believing that they can do hard things, doing it, and then you'll train your brain to have a higher self-worth and level of confidence along the way.
Let's go into more of the importance, maybe using specific circumstances where reading the room can really make or break your relationship with your team, which then, of course, affects your overall confidence, perhaps your overall goals for the year. Let's go into that more.
Happily. I encourage the listeners, I already gave them a piece of homework to look up signal versus noise and to determine their 3 words. Here's another piece of homework. Google and research the term discernment. Early career, it's all about professionalism, boundaries, knowing how to show up, kind of play the game, how to look the part, speak the part, learn the part. Mid-career, you start to have people that you manage, and now you're not only managing up and across, you're starting to manage down. That's around emotional intelligence and protecting stress factors and noise, because now you have people underneath you probably needing your help and your emotional guidance and things of that nature. You're having a deeper role in cross-functional functioning. And you also have a manager that you have to appease and report up to. So I think EQ is mid career soft skill too that matters greatly. And then as you become a senior leader, it's all about discernment on what signal to noise, discernment, aka judgment, and in the moment judgment. So allow me to share how that plays into reading the room, no matter what stage you're in. First and foremost, I'm going to say from the end user's point of view. I've been in multiple group meetings with leaders and professionals from all levels. I do some consulting with a Westchester-based but global company called Align 5, and we do a lot around scaling up coaching for businesses. And from December to January, I was at 11 different annual strategy sessions with C-suites, VPs, directors in a room. And so here's what I'll tell you as a participant. Be careful and be conscious and be polished in your body language. I can't tell you how many times I saw grown-ass adults with their hands in their mouth, visibly stressing, playing with their hair, moving in their chair. They clearly exuded, frankly, not necessarily in these 2 months that I'm talking about, but in general, it doesn't give off a good look. It doesn't look polished, doesn't look like you're confident. It doesn't look like you're sure of yourself. Alternatively, in body language, I see 2 people, eye contact, looking at each other, rolling their eyes, texting. As soon as the person looks, they smile. So they're texting to each other during the meeting. They are multitasking. They're not present. So as an individual in any group meeting, whether you're virtually or in person, presence will be your biggest flex, because then you'll be able to consciously read the room. So now let me answer your question. As someone who now is going to be paying attention to workplace dynamics, power plays, who's playing the game, how and what, who has the ultimate decision-making power, who has the real influence, who's super likable, who's dismissed. Consciously reading the room is you're looking for the body language, you're looking for the eye contact, and you're trying to slightly mirror how others are effectively leading the meeting. For example, for me, I have to be honest with you, I was not good at this back in the day. I was horrible at this. I was a jokester. I'd be texting my work wife and work husband. I'd be rolling my eyes. Like, it was not good. I was super duper immature. But now I'm trying to be fully present. All my windows are down and I'm just looking around and I'm learning as I'm participating. And so I could tell when this one person talks, everyone's leaning in and pay attention to that one person. So I clock to myself like, oh, that person has influence. They're likable. They're probably really good at their job. They're capable.
Mm, okay.
And so now I'm seeing how that person's speaking and I'm trying to click with that person. Or I'm trying to mirror how that person is speaking. Let's say that person is speaking very professionally, quickly, in short sound bites. I'm going to try to do the same because if I ramble on, I'm going to lose them. And so, what I do in real time in the meeting, for those of you that are watching, I have my Apple pen with my OneNote, and in real time, I'll pay attention to words that that person said and I'll write it down and I'll try to repeat those words back in some way, somehow, while adding in my 2 cents.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or I will say, first of all, a great book that everyone should read, I don't have it right here, is called Positive Intelligence. It's all about how you talk to yourself in your head. And a great book, one of the things says is the concept of 10%. Everyone's dumbass idea has at least 10% of legs to it. So instead of the default of what most people say, that idea won't work, I'm confused. How could you say that? And shooting that person down, now you're blocking a potential depth in relationship. Instead of saying, no, that doesn't work, whatever, say yes and. Even if 10% of that idea is the only part that has any common sense to it. So it looks something like this. Yes, what I like about that idea is that it could really increase engagement across our employees. However, knowing our budget restraints, I wonder if we could do this program in a virtual manner. You're
Okay.
taking 10% of that person's idea and you're adding legs to it in a way where you're being, and by the way, be genuine about this. And if you are,
Yeah.
people will feel it. And, I'm not telling anyone to be fake or have like playbook and strategies and rules that aren't themselves. Feel free to use whatever I take in your voice and style. But at the end of the day, when you click with someone, when you vibe with them because you know how to read the room, you know how to drive that click to connect with them, that's how those relationships are going to get formed. And then when it's your time to speak, and let's say some idiot saying, well, I'm confused or that idea won't work, they might return the favor for you and have your back too, and use the yes and 10% factor.
I just like that because it's so easy. And I know I can get wrapped up in this as well, especially if you're overworked and you're on a team where you have a million things to do. Any new ideas that come forth where you're already like, oh my God, I'm in like a million different directions. Like I can't take anything else on. It's so easy to just dismiss it immediately. But if you take a second, take a step back, right? And you take that 10% of the idea and you're like, okay, well, like what can I actually what is like actually manageable, right? For the department where eventually maybe we get to that full scale idea, but right now we can take a piece of it and turn it into something. Like I think that's a really important strategy to have, not only to be a team player, but then to actually experiment to help grow a company.
Executives love the concept of trade-offs. What I love about that idea is this. Basically, the trade-off is that, so this is how we can still make it work in Q2 2026, and we could revisit for Q4 in later on in the year. Whatever, but something where instead of being a barrier and blocking something, try to keep that conversation forward to extract really what matters most, aka the signal. The last thing I'll comment on is when I went to NYU School of Professional Studies to get my professional coaching certification, because I feel like everyone calls themselves a coach, and I wanted to be formally trained. So I was effective. So I was introduced to a really successful coach of over 20 years before coaching, leadership coaching, executive coaching was even a thing. So my first question to him was, what are the key themes that you're seeing in your executive coaching of 20 years? You've been doing it for longer than almost anyone in this profession has. What's a common reoccurring theme? And he's like, people cannot get along. I coach grown men with grown children, grown women, and they're C-suites. They're making mega bucks. They made it to the corner office and they still can't get along with other people. And that's what stalls execution and stalls growth and development. So figuring out a way, you don't need to be best friends with them. They don't need to be your work wife. Quite frankly, I think there should be mad boundaries in a friendship at work based on multiple betrayals that I've had. That's for another podcast. um, figure out a way to get along. Because guess what? You saying that yes and to that one person who's probably nervous about sharing their idea and you threw them a bone, that's a core memory that they're going to remember for years to come. So then when you then start your own business and they're working at a different company, they hire you like it has happened with me at Schweiger and the vendors and employees, colleagues that I used to work with.
Yeah. I love all the advice that you've given here. I think I've taken stuff because there's always way to grow and apply and change as a leader for the better. And I'm like excited to start to like implement some of these ideas into my own workplace. But I also, you mentioned the book, which we will link in the show notes. Obviously, we're gonna link where listeners can find you as well. But I wanted to give you the chance to kind of shout out where they can find you also. So they have it like audio wise and they have it visually written down.
Thank you so much. So the other book that I'm going to recommend to everyone in addition to Positive Intelligence is Likeable Badass by Allison Frigale. Quick
Okay.
sidebar, I read the book, absolutely loved it, DM'd her on LinkedIn. She
No way.
wrote back to me. We spoke. We started talking. I'm like, your book is so amazing. Every single woman should read it. I wish I read it in my 20s. How can I help you get your message out stronger? And keep an eye out because there will be a partnership that we're doing together soon. And while I was in Chicago, I met her in real life. So yes, an amazing story. So shoot your shot, ladies. Have a genuine, non-AI LinkedIn message because you never know. So where viewers and listeners can find me is on my website, anawelsh.com, ANAWELSH.com. There's a book, Anna Today, so you can just send me a message if you're curious about working together, bringing me into your ERG group, your women's group, your leadership group, your intern. I also have an indispensable intern summer program that I deploy to help interns know how to play the game at a young age and help businesses increase intern to employee conversion. Please follow me and connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram. So LinkedIn and Instagram, Ana Welsh Speaks, and I'm building a YouTube channel. I have a few videos down there and I have more in the works. So Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Ana Welsh Speaks. Message me, tell me what you're working on, tell me what you're struggling with. I will write back. And I'd love to meet so many of the viewers and listeners. And if you're interested about working together, I'd be happy to explore that as well within your budget, virtual or in person.
Amazing. I'm going to be purchasing those books right after this interview. And I feel like I need to, every single time I have an interview, I feel like there's like a book or something along those lines, some part or sort of literature that is recommended. I feel like I need to create like a book club page with all these recommendations. So I will link those in the show notes below for those listening because you should add that to your cart too. Thank you again, Anna, so much for coming on. This has been such a great conversation. I feel like we could go on for hours.
Yes,
There's just so much to take apart and digest and like talk about. So who knows? Maybe there will be a part 2 coming soon. But thank you all as well for taking the time to listen to this week's episode of the Working Moms Playbook. As usual, you should rate, you should comment about what you thought, and then also, of course, share this with another mom who could really benefit from this. And honestly, I think everybody could. So share it with all your mom friends. I will see you all next Wednesday for our next episode. I can't wait. Thank you. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this episode of the Working Moms Playbook. And also, thank you so much for sharing this episode with any and every working mom who might benefit. Also, thank you for subscribing. It means so much to be able to continue to grow this village of working moms in a world where our villages can feel fairly small. Keep an eye out for next week's episode, always debuting on a Wednesday, and I can't wait to see you there.